Hello, and welcome to episode 54 of Moms with Yarn. My name is Sharon. I'm known as Bronx Knitter One on Instagram, on Ravelry, and Bronx Knitter on Instagram. Welcome. I'd like to welcome my new and returning viewers and to say hello to my new YouTube subscribers. Hi, Erica. I'd also like to get to explain myself why I was away practically, well, was it the whole month of January? I personally had no downtime in January. I went out to see a Broadway show, Get on Your Feet, the Gloria Estefan story. I went out to lunch or dinner about 5 or 6 times. I went to Vogue Knitting Live where I met Barb of the Flame and Fiber podcast. We had dinner together, and she's just, I think Barb might be a kindred spirit because when I met her, I felt like I had always known her. So, and it was wonderful that she came to Vogue Knitting Live. She came to New York. I met her there at Vogue, and she had already done her shopping because I have been out of the city for such a long time that I forgot that they do construction on weekends on the subways. So I got there late, and she was still so gracious. And we did a tour around the 2 floors of Vogue Knitting Live, and then we went to Junior's Cheesecake for dinner, for burgers and wine. I know beer goes with burgers, but we had burgers and wine. It was lovely. It was lovely. We were there forever just chatting like old school friends. And I didn't realize we were there such a long time. But it was wonderful. It was a wonderful, wonderful way to spend the day. Barb was perfectly lovely, easy to talk to, easy to be with, or else I wouldn't have spent all the hours I spent with her. And I would do it again. I would do it again next year. So that is why the podcast got put up so late, because after everything was said and done, I came down with the who knows what's. So I'm going to try to stay calm so that I don't cough and have to edit that part out, because I don't like editing. So I think that pretty much is my poor excuse for not podcasting last month, and already a week into this month. Here we go. I don't know if you can hear this, but somebody's car alarm has been going off for the past, I want to say, half hour. It goes on, it goes off. It goes on, it goes off. I hope you can't hear it, but it's a nuisance. I've looked out to see if anybody was actually stealing the car, and no, I don't see anything. I just hear the alarm. But if the alarm is going off and the car is sitting in the same spot, either the owners are away or they can't do anything about it. And so I just hope it's not disruptive for the podcast, since this is like take 5. So that is all of my excuses / reasons why I did not make an appearance before almost a month. Now, there is some stuff we need to talk about, like the By the Book KAL. So I realized that it's going to be over in about a month and a week. 5 weeks. I think there's 5 weeks left. And I never did post a picture of the prizes or get a chance to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about it now. So one of the prizes is a book I happen to have a duplicate of in my library. And it's an old book, 2004. It's called The Knitting Directory by Allison Jenkins. It looks like this. Pay no attention to that sticker. That's not how much the book cost. But it is a spiral bound book. And it happens to have a section for equipment and basic techniques, and they're on these tabs. And there's another one for simple stitch library, which these stitches are really simple. It's good for a beginning knitter, but it gives you the needle size chart, different weights and types of yarn, and then each sample stitch has a picture to go with it, and there's some simple stitches there. There's a section that is called advanced work, and in advanced work you'll find things like cables and lace, and those patterns pretty much have their own page, and there's really just not that many pages. And then there's another section called creating your own designs and adding decorative details, which happens to do with taking your measurements and making a pattern and adding things like a motif or adding beads, I believe. Most of the things that they want you to add on are sewn on. But anyway, it's a good handy reference book to have. I found it useful some years back when I was getting started. And we had the knitting group actually use this book to come up with a design for a scarf or something simple. It's a great reference book to have for somebody who's just beginning. So I think that that would be a rather cheesy gift to give. But I really do want this book out of my library because it is a duplicate. So along to sweeten the deal, I'm including a skein of, sorry about the crinkling, Plucky Knitter. It is actually Plucky Bellow worsted. It's 5545 merino cashmere. It is from Plucky Classics, June 2014, and the colorway is Old Lace, and it gets its inspiration from arsenic and old lace. Now I don't know if you can really see this color, but it's a kind of, I want to say, lilac-y brown kind of color. Doesn't really show up, but anyway, so that's one prize. If you want the yarn, you have to take the book. The other prize is a pattern from Meg Gadsby. She's a designer on Ravelry, and I met her at Rhinebeck last year. She and her husband shared a cab with me and my friend, and I asked her about her patterns, which are all so lovely, so pretty. I asked her if she wouldn't mind making that be one of the prizes, and she said absolutely not. She's also a member of the group, so if you get the pattern and you have any problems, you know where to go. And included with that pattern is some stitch markers that were given to me by Barb of the Flame and Fiber podcast to give away on the group. So she's Barb, Flame and Fiber podcast. The stitch markers look like this. They're lovely. She does the lamp work herself, so in her studio at home. So this is what they look like. There's 4 of them. There was 5, but the bead fell off one. I don't know what happened. It just fell apart. So I'll hang on to that one, and you can have these other 4, which are lovely. So a pattern by Meg Gadsby and stitch markers by Barb of the Flame and Fiber podcast. As you know, since this is a collaboration between Barb and myself to do the By the Book KAL, you can double dip. Doesn't matter. Everybody's double dipping these days. Because in addition to being able to double dip because you've knit something from a book, you can also weigh those finished projects and enter them into the Never Cast Off podcast and the Fiber Pusher podcast, who are collaborating in the, I'm going to get this wrong, Biggest Loser Stash Reduction Challenge 2017. So it doesn't matter where your pattern came from. It doesn't matter what you knit. I know that you can knit or crochet. I believe you can, and you can spin. And you get double points if you make something from your spinning. And so those are two other options to make you eligible for prizes. And who doesn't want to be eligible for prizes? I do. The other thing that is going on is my friend Sojourn Knitter has contracted a bus to leave from New York City going to Maryland Sheep and Wool. The bus is going to leave on the Saturday of the event. It will pick people up in Manhattan at 6 a.m. It will make one stop in Brooklyn, and then it goes on to Maryland Sheep and Wool, which they estimate arrival time at about 11 a.m. I don't have all the details, but she does. I've asked her to put a post in the room, and I hope that by the time this podcast goes up that you'll be able to see that and sign up to go. I mean, if you live near me, we can share a cab to go to Manhattan at 6 a.m. I mean, 5:30 in the morning, so that we can get on a 6 o'clock bus. I think that sounds like a good idea. So the other thing, and I just wanted to give a special thank you to Simona and to Sue for both answering Molson 13, that would be Jody, who had a question about what a KAL is. You've cleared it all up, and she got her answers, and you guys got there before I could get there. So I've read all the posts, I've seen all the pictures, I know what's going on in the room. I'm trying not to give any input because I don't want to pick my own name out of the lineup when it comes to drawing for prizes. So thanks, Sue and Simona. Okay, so now the last thing for which I have nothing to show, and all of this is just chitty chat, 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 is I did take on a test knit. I wrote my notes on the bag because I have no ink in my printer, so I couldn't print out the pattern. And I can't show you what I'm knitting. What I can show you is what I'm using, which is Eden Cottage yarn in the Night Sky colorway. It's dark, dark, dark blue. This is like the color that it is. And it is 85% BFL, 15% silk. And it feels, oh my gosh, it is so soft. So, since this was a test knit, I used all of one ball and a part of this, and I just put it back together for podcast purposes. But in addition to the yarn, which came in 2016, not 2017, came some Knit Pro Zing needles. I'd never tried these before, and I've been wanting them in the worst kind of way you can imagine. So with the yarn came the needles, which were a gift from Claire. Thank you, Claire, at the Woolly Thistle. And she sells these as well as the yarn that I'm using, as in addition to, oh my gosh, so many West Yorkshire Spinners yarn. She has, she just got a new shipment in, I believe, of some yarns. You got to check out the Woolly Thistle. So these Knit Pro Zings, this join, there is no join. It's one smooth needle, and working with it is like a joy. I like these better than I like carbons, and better than I like signatures, if you can imagine that. I just think I have an affinity for needles that are not expensive, but the join, the smooth join, those that knitting just slides right all around the needle. So that's if you can get them, you should get them. I don't knit with double points anymore. I knit with higher sharps and the magic loop, but those would make me go back to double points because I always loved double points. I'm gonna choke, so let me have a little something to drink. So, in addition to my knit and to the test knit, I did some real knitting that I can show. Some pattern that I finished, and these are the My Cup of Tea socks. They are made with white birch fiber arts in the Crime Scene Barbie colorway. They are 80/20 superwash merino nylon, 400 yards. I used a US size 1, 2.25 millimeter, and I also got 76 grams, and this was entered into the Fiber Pushers podcast because she drew the prizes for the Biggest Loser in January. In February, you can put all of your entries in the Never Cast Off podcast room, which is Sheila and Debbie. They'll be drawing prizes. So now this pair of socks can go to my son's girlfriend, and we're done with them. This is what it looked like in the skein, and the pink has purples and orange and dark pink, light pink, different kind of pinks. So that's one pattern down. The other thing I knit on, which was new knitting, was I had this yarn. It is from Play at Life. It was sent to me because I had placed an order for some yarn, and it somehow got sent around the world, and it had to be sent to me again. So because I had to wait so long to get the order, she sent me this bonus skein, which I think might be Into the Woods or something like that. It's a bulky weight yarn. As you can see, it's bulky. And I was on Instagram, which, if you don't want to buy anything, you can never visit Instagram. When you get finished seeing beautiful yarn and the occasional free pattern, it's really hard to resist. And because of this Biggest Loser, I am trying very hard to use my stash. Did I also mention that Brownberry Chronicles, that would be Mars, is having Make Whips, Not Waste. And if you go and watch her podcast, you can see where she talks about upcycling, recycling, using what you have, repurposing, and stuff like that. This yarn had been balled up in my stash for about 2 Rhinebecks. I finally found the yarn, the pattern that goes with the yarn, and it is called the Spruce Hat by the Vulgar Knitter. It's not been blocked. It took me a day and a half to make, but this is Play It Life. I know that it is worsted weight. I used a US size 7 needle for the cuff and an 8 for the actual hat. This is what the pattern looks like, and it was a limited time free pattern, and the back is just plain so you can see the colors, and it looks like it is light brown, greens, light browns and green, different shades of brown, different shades of green, and it's really a warm hat. And because I don't mind a little bit of a slouch, it's not the sockhead hat because it has a design. Isn't that lovely? So this pattern has just a panel with cables. So if you can make a hat, you can make this hat. It was lovely. It is lovely. I like it. Am I keeping it? No, I don't think so. But I can't be 100% sure. I'll let you know if anything changes about that. The tag has long since been lost and never to be recovered, so that's the end of that. So this is, again, the Spruce Hat by the Vulgar Knitter. She offered it as a free pattern on Instagram. And it was a really easy hat to make. And just for the record, it weighed 46 grams. And this does get entered into the Never Cast Off podcast Biggest Loser group thread. This is the first thing I knit in February, and that is going to be entered. The other thing I did, which doesn't count because I don't know, yeah, it does count, is my spinning. I did some spinning. This, there goes my project book. This is abstract fiber out of Portland, Oregon. It's 100% BFL in the Hopworks colorway. And this is how far I got. I love BFL. It's my favorite fiber to spin. I love BFL. I have a cabinet full of BFL. I probably have just as much merino, but BFL is by far my favorite. And this is what it looks like. This is just the first spin, and it's on my woolly winder spool, which is why it comes out so even on the spool. But I love this. So my son's girlfriend picked out, I am knitting 12 socks this year at a minimum, and I am going to spin 12 braids of fiber at a minimum, because when the Tour de Fleece comes up during the Tour de France, I don't know how much I'm going to get done, but I'm gonna reduce my stash by a lot. So my son's girlfriend picked this bat braid of fiber out, and I'm not sure. I'm going to 3-ply it. I was looking for something else to ply it with, but I haven't found anything suitable, and I really don't want to destroy the color by plying it with something else. Not destroy it. I don't want to change the character that it has by plying it with something else. So I am going to make this Navajo ply, and then whatever my yardage is going to determine what it is I'm going to make for her, because I don't care who gets the fiber once it's spun, and once it turns into yarn, and once it becomes a project, and once it goes into the Biggest Loser challenge. So that's gonna get plied, and the next braid will go on the wheel. And this is braid number 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 4 braids, and it's only February. Lastly, is my visit to Vogue Knitting Live was lovely in that I got to spend that time chatting with Barb, and it was not for me a shopping opportunity, because I could go to pretty much any one of those stores and get the yarn that the vendors were selling. Nitty City was there, School Products was there, couple of places in the city were there. And I can go to those places, so I don't really need to buy from them. Hedgehog fibers, I can get easily. So I wanted something that I had never seen before, that would absolutely sing to me, and that I would be sure to use this year, instead of showing it to you 2 years from now saying that I got this at Vogue Knitting Live for, you know, my visit there. So what I got is this. When I saw this on the shelf, I it screamed my name. So this is the Fuzzy Bunny Studio at Honeoye Craft Lab. And it doesn't look like it has a colorway, but it says here that it's 4 ounces, 113 grams, which I had to log into my Biggest Loser as a gain. 400 yards, 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 10% tencel, and it's hand dyed with eco-friendly dyes. Very appealing. Very appealing, because that probably means that they did not use acid. And the colors are stunning. I think I am a sucker for anything that has orange in it. You know how some people love pink? I think orange is my kryptonite. I think if any yarn has orange in it, there's more of a chance I'm going to buy it than not. But this also has gray, which is actually a hazy kind of purple, orange, pinks. Love it. Absolutely love it. So now this brings me to the last part of today's podcast, which is talking about my Rhinebeck sweater. Now you may think that's crazy to be talking about a Rhinebeck sweater this far out, because I have a way of getting so caught up in what I'm doing that I forget. So I remember buying this book because I wanted this sweater. It's called the Side Button Sweater, I think. I should have put a bookmark in here so I could find it easily. But I absolutely adore this sweater. I want this sweater more than any sweater I've ever seen that I wanted to make and wear. Honestly. I have a choice between 2 sweaters. This sweater or a sweater that's cabled. It's called Button Side Sweater. And this book is by Jennifer Dessau. So I can't imagine who wouldn't want this sweater. And I think part of the appeal is that the sweater is in orange. Maybe that's it. I won't be making the sweater in orange because I don't have a sweater's quantity of orange yarn. The back is, it's a pullover. The back is plain. The front is plain. And the buttons start after the armpits, I think. Anyway, it's a pullover with side buttons, which I think will cover my grist. And I couldn't be happier. So I'm going to see what's needed. And then I'm going to knit this. This is going to be my Rhinebeck sweater. And then when I go to Rhinebeck next year, I'm going to make sure that I attend the Ravelry meetup so I can flash this sweater. Because if it comes out right, I'm going to be extremely pleased, and I might make more than one in more than one color so that every time anybody ever sees me, I'll be wearing the button side cardigan. So this is from Knitting Short Rows, and the author is Jennifer Dessau. And I am going to enjoy myself because there were other things in here I want to make, but nothing that I want to make, nothing I'm more inspired to make than this at the moment. So, and that, folks, is everything. The car alarm is still going off. And before I sign off, because it's so annoying, I can't continue to talk. So before I sign off, don't forget to knit your projects and post them everywhere so you can be eligible for prizes anywhere. And I will see you in 2 weeks. And if I get anything knit, you might even see me before then. So until then, happy knitting.